Hi everyone, and welcome to the soap making class. Um, we are going to be making just a regular plain old soap. We're going to start off with mixing our lye and water. And you can see that I have something in my bowl that is silk. Of course, I didn't want to task you all with that, but I wanted silk in my soap, so I just added it to this. You can just disregard that part. I'm just putting it in the water, and I'm going to pour the lye on top of it, and it will eventually dissolve in that water. And make sure that you have your gloves on, your goggles, your face mask. As you can see, I'm fully covered. I was talking in the video, but decided to do a voiceover. So try to disregard that. But you want to slowly pour your lye into the water. You never want to pour water in lye unless you have a death wish. Well, not death, but possibly. But it is very dangerous to do it like that. So you want to mix it in there very slowly until it dissolves. The lye will heat the water up tremendously. Even if you use cold water, hopefully you're using distilled water as I instructed. But you want to make sure that you pour the lye in there and stir it up really good, and make sure that you have no sandy kind of particles, which would be the lye at the bottom. You would feel when you're moving your spoon around, it feels like sand at the bottom. But you want to keep moving, stirring it up, and make sure that you get all of that to dissolve. And I just emptied out the lye in there. I'm going to set that aside and continue to stir. And this water is going to heat up. And it's going to heat up to nearly 200 degrees, and that will dissolve my silk as well as the lye that was poured in. And you just, you want to take your time and stir. Don't stir too hard because you don't want to mess up your appliances, your countertop, none of that stuff. Just, carefully stir it up. And I'm just checking to see if my silk is dissolving, checking to see how it's dissolving, how much is dissolved. But even though you don't have the silk in it, you still want to stir it up. Make sure you stir it really good. And just stir. Very lightly, you want to stir. I find it soothing to make soap. I love making soap. Yeah, we're going to stir this until it's all dissolved. And it may smell a little strong to you, so I hope you have your mask nice and snug. Mine is not as strong because I have the silk in it, and the silk kind of changes that strong, heavy scent. It doesn't burn. It's just not as bad. You want to take your temperature gun and take the temperature to see how hot it is. And it shouldn't go up above 200 degrees. But it's still, that's still really, really hot. And you want to just make sure that you stir and make sure that lye is completely dissolved. So we're going to just stir and stir and stir. Make sure there's nothing on the bottom. You want to take your spoon and, as you're stirring, scrape along the bottom to make sure there's no sand there, and that it's completely dissolved. And sometimes I like to, when I mix my lye and my water, I like to take it outside. I'll go and set it out on my deck, on my table out on the deck, and just let it sit there to cool off. There I am admiring the silk and how it's dissolving. checking to see how warm it's getting, or if it stopped getting warm, because it could stop at any, start going down eventually, depending on how the dissolving is going. Oh, you can disregard me talking there. I did talk in the video, but I decided to do a voiceover to watch to see, how much I, how, just to go step by step of everything that I'm doing in case I forgot anything I wanted to look at it. So, yeah. Disregard me talking in it. I'm, stirring, making sure it's all dissolved, and it looks like my the silk is really dissolving a lot. It's going to be completely melted by the time I get done. Oh, and when you're stirring, when you're going to set it aside, use the bowl that you poured the lye out of to set your spoon in, because you're going to need that again. And that is the shea butter, and I put the shea butter in the pot and scrape it. And as you can see, I'm using a separate utensil to scrape my butters and the oils. You'll see I'll be doing more scraping the shea butter out. And next we'll do the coconut oil. Pour that in there, and we're going to scrape that coconut oil out. Waste not, want not, right? So I try to get as much of it out of it as I can to make sure that I don't waste anything, because that stuff can be expensive. Yep, got all that coconut out of there. And I don't know if anybody used the babasu oil, but babasu oil is a lot like coconut oil, just more expensive. Oh, and there you want to, you see I put those dishes. I had some water set aside already, some warm water, so I can wash all these things out as soon as I'm done. This is the almond oil, the sweet almond oil. Just pour that in. Get as much of it out of the container as I can. So I don't like wasting anything. I want it all out. Yep. Scrapey scrape. And put all your dishes in your, you can use warm sudsy water, or just plain old cold water for your lye container. When you're done, you could just pour the lye in, or put cold water in the lye. But I like to put my dishes in the soapy water, and I use Dawn just because it seems to work better with my soap dishes as well. So we're going to melt this down. We're going to let it all melt down and I'm going to keep my temperature you want to keep your temperature down low. A lot of soap makers say that you should use a double boiler to melt down your oils, but I have not used a double boiler since the first year when I started making soap. I found that by keeping my temperature super low, that it'll melt it just as well. And this is going to take a bit because shea butter just takes a while to melt down. And looks like I have my fire up a little too high there when I first turned it on. So I need to, I'm going to turn that down. Let it melt down just a little bit, and then I'm going to turn it down really, really low and let it take its sweet little time to melt and incorporate, try to blend in together, and just stir it and stir it. Stirring it just kind of helps it to melt a little quicker. Yeah, it melted down a lot quicker. I'm sorry, not a lot quicker, but it helps it to melt when you move it around in the warm oil. And yeah, so I'm turning that down. I'm going to turn that way down and just let it take its time and melt. And I'm going to just stir it and let it melt down. Take its time. And I don't know if you guys already melted it down. You can fast forward through this part if you like. Or you can sit and watch the boring video. Eventually I'm going to fast forward through as well, and you'll notice that it goes from a lot of big clumps to just a little bit. This is just a 2.5 quart pot that I'm using. And you'll see that your oil should melt down and be clear. You can see down the bottom of the pot. And this part right here is probably the longest process, just melting down the oils. A lot of times, if I know I'm going to make soap, I'll melt my oils down early in the day. I'll melt them and let them sit to cool off. I also do that with the lye. I'll mix my lye in water and let it dissolve, stir it until it dissolves, and let it sit there and cool, and get them both down to room temperature. That seems to make some nice soap too. So, okay, there. I paused it and came back, and it's almost completely melted, as you can see. Yeah, I just have a couple of big pieces in there that I just want to melt down, and it will, just from stirring it and moving it around a bit. That'll melt down, and it's all melted. And I'm taking the temperature to see how hot it is. It's 134 degrees. And we're going to check the lye as well to see how hot it is, and that is 159 degrees. Or I'm sorry, 129 degrees. And so because they're good, they need to be below 145 degrees, and since they both are, I can get ready to mix my lye and oil together. We are ready. So if you haven't gotten your temperatures down below 145 degrees, you can pause the video and wait for it to get down to temperature that you need, and then start it back up and pick up right here. Yeah, see how all the silk melted in there? It all dissolved. It's completely dissolved. And I'm slowly pouring. You slowly pour. You do not want to splash this. Slowly pour your lye in the oil. Yeah, this is it's pouring nicely. You can feel it's not thick, but you can tell that it's thicker than just the oil or just the water. They get a little thicker once you put them together, just a little. And you want to take that lye, scrape out whatever you can, very, very, very carefully. You don't want to splash that spatula as you try to scrape it out, because you can, splash that lye and you wouldn't like the way that felt, trust me. So get out as much as you can, and you can add that to your sudsy water, or put some cold water in it and set it aside. I just took my gloves off because they're hot, and I'm done pouring the lye, so I don't have the same danger. So I removed my gloves, and you may if you want. And it's kind of bulky stirring up the soap mixture with those gloves on. So You want to put, start your hand mixer on the lowest speed. It just makes things a lot simpler. And my pot, I don't have my pot sitting directly on my granite top. I have it sitting on a pot holder, not a cloth one, but a steel one that raises it up off of my countertop, because I don't want that on my countertop. And you can blend. You can see it's very watery right now. It is thickening up, but you'll tell the difference in the thickness as you blend and stir. You want to take turns going from blender to stirring, and blender and stirring, and and grab yourself a paper towel or something to set your hand mixer on while you're stirring it with the spatula, because you just want to take turns with it, and you want to make sure that lye is completely incorporated with the oil. So yeah, you want to do some stirring and stirring, and it'll get thicker as you do that. It continues to thicken up. You'll notice the difference. See how it's getting a little thicker? It's not as watery. And as I scoop up more on the spatula, you'll see it's thicker and thicker, and it'll start making impressions in the mixture in the top. We're almost ready for the essential oils that we're adding. And see how it's starting to take shape and form there. You can see indentations. Yeah, grab your essential oil. Oh yeah, grab your essential oil. And this is a almost 2.5 pound batch. So you would put 2.5 ounces of whatever scent you choose, whatever fragrance you choose. No more than, you wouldn't need more than 2.5 ounces of it. And I actually added some color to this because I'm making something specific, but you can just disregard that and follow the rest of the video anyway. And the color is going to change once I blend again. You'll see that. It's really getting thick now. Yeah, it's really getting thick. I like when it starts getting thick. Like I just love the process of it turning into soap. It's just an amazing thing. So we're going to grab once I scrape all that off, we're going to grab the hand mixer again, and we're going to set the spatula on the paper towel so it's not on that countertop, and blend again, and it'll get thicker and thicker and thicker. And eventually, when I start lifting it up, you'll see how long it takes. It starts to get to between a pancake mix and pudding kind of thickness, and that's when it's about perfect. I used a yellow color. It's called Taxi Cab. So yeah, it's kind of a taxi yellow. I only used a little bit of it, but I wanted it to have a little color to it. So this is about ready to pour. Just about ready to pour. We're almost there. This is pretty, pretty standard process. And I took the bottom off of the hand mixer to put it in the sink with the rest of the stuff so I can wash it right away. but you see how thick it got? See how it stays on the spatula now? Yeah, it's ready to pour. Definitely like pudding now. So it's gonna be more like this. The container that I recommended and that I'm using, it holds a little more than 2 pounds. Yeah, it holds a little more than 2 pounds. So I'm going to get another mold that so I can put my extra in there. And you can see it already has a couple of things in there because I made soap last night and had some extra, and those are hearts. So I'm gonna pour this in here, and then the extra, I think I'll have two hearts left, and those hearts are about 3.5 ounces each, so it's going to be about 6 ounces more than that mold can hold. But we're just about done. We are just about done. Set that aside and bring the hearts around here. Pour that in there. And those are nice. I mean, I like to make the hearts, and I end up giving them away to family or friends, and or I'll use one of those as I try, because I always use the soaps any soap that I make, I always use it before I sell it. I just like to be able to tell people, the experience that I had with it, how it made me feel, and the benefits that I got from it. And if it's, especially with the silk soap, it makes you feel so soft. I love using the silk soaps. So it looks like I had a little bit left that I was able to add to the top of my mold there. So I think that, I wanted to make impressions in it. I'm going to grab a spoon and make a little design on the top of it. And you don't have to do that, but just something extra that I did, and that you can do. You can use a fork. You can use one of those little small spatulas. It's the same kind of silicone spatula. They're very, very small though. And just make little indentations, or make shapes on your soap, and you'll get fancier and fancier with it as you get along, as you move along in the process. And so I don't know what I walked away to do, but I'm back. And just patting that down, and then we're gonna pat that down. That process there, you lightly, it might look like I'm doing it really hard, but I'm not. You want to lightly pat your mold down to make sure that there are no air bubbles, air pockets in your batter. And by patting it down like that, it makes those air bubbles come up to the top and release from the mold. And that prevents the having holes in your soap. You don't want to cut your soap and see holes in it, because I almost dropped it. Wow. You don't want to have holes in your soap just because it's ugly. It's still soap, but you don't want that. And there we have it. I still haven't grabbed the spoon yet, but I'm going to grab the spoon and make my little, there we go, my little design in it. And these spoons are especially for my soap. They are not my kitchen spoons for eating and cooking. I have stainless steel utensils, forks, and spoons that I use just for my soap. You don't want to mix up your utensils, just because some soapers say, well, they get clean, you wash them just like you wash everything else, and I do, but I can't bring myself to eat off of a spoon that I've just mixed with lye. I just don't do it. And the soapers that I learned from said don't do it. So, And there we have it. Let me show you my little design. Look at that. Oh, isn't that cute? And there you have it. You are now a soap maker. Now, just a little something extra. I cover mine with plastic wrap. You don't have to, but I took this soap and took it to, I have a room dedicated to soap. I took it in my soap lab, I call it. And I made a batch of soap last night so that I could show you how to cut your soap. So that soap is now ready. I'm going to show you how to cut it with the cutter that you should have gotten in the list of items that I said you would need to make this soap. And there it is. Same kind of mold. And let's turn that over. You want to loosen it up from the sides first, very carefully, because you see how there's nothing on the side of the mold? That's how you want it. And if you pull it too fast, you could pull soap off and it'd be sticky and tacky, and you don't want to do that. So I do all four corners to make sure there's no sticky, tacky, and I just kind of push down, but the soap was kind of high up, so I couldn't really do it like that. So I'm using a different technique and kind of standing it up on its side and working it out towards me. Yeah, just kind of massage it, and then you'll see it starts working its way out. You can see that it's starting to come out of the mold now. Very, very carefully though. You don't want to squeeze it to where you smash the soap, because although it's hard enough to cut, it's still pretty soft. You could really squeeze that and choke it. Actually, you don't want to. You can choke it and smash your soap, and then you don't have the pretty, even, smooth block of soap that you really, really want. So very carefully, like I said, it may look like I'm doing it really rough, but trust me, I am being very, very light with this. This soap is my baby. I treat it like a baby, and I'm just gonna work it out until I get it. And very carefully lift it up. You don't even want to lift it up fast when you get to that point, because it could still be sticky and tacky on the bottom. So I very carefully lift it up, and as you can see, it is smooth. There is nothing in that container, and the bottom of that's the bottom of the soap. You see how smooth it is? It's a perfectly smooth block. And I'm just gonna grab some gloves so I can flip it over, and we're gonna turn it over. You don't want to touch your soap. Like, you want to continue to have your soap be without fingerprints on it. You don't want to make it tacky, and gloves kind of help you with that. And believe it or not, the lye is still a little caustic. It can still burn you a little at this point, because this was just done yesterday. It's not going to be as serious, but I'm doing about an inch back on the bar, and very slowly working my way down. And you can kind of go side to side like a seesaw, very slowly though. I'm moving so slow you can't even tell I'm moving. But I am moving. It's going down, and yep, it is going down. Now you probably can tell that I moved down. Not teeter-tottering, but you don't want to do it too much, because like I said, it's still soft. Although it's hard enough to cut, it's still soft. So, and you don't want to pull out when you're taking. If it doesn't slide off, you want to kind of work it side to side like that, and it'll eventually come off. And see, it's stuck to it, and you can just kind of wiggle that off of there. Yep. And look at that. There you have your smooth bar of soap. you go. You are now a soap maker. Look at that. I was going to cut the rest of it, but I decided not to because I actually have a professional cutter, and I'm going to do the rest on that professional cutter because I just like my soaps perfectly cut, and eventually you will do that yourself. You will prefer to do that yourself because cutting one bar at a time is just not fun. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please let me know